Anybody's hungry? Pizza has arrived. It's in the back.
Good call.
You don't want to be in the way when you call that.
That's why I'm sitting here. Oh, it's because what do we got left? Slices of chocolate.
What have you been up to? Anything interesting?
Working on the dollar.
I know. Back in the 90s when Y2K was happening, we weren't working that hard and we weren't making money. And now it seems like everybody's just working their ass off. It's actually one of the challenges of air is that people just sort of lacking the bandwidth to.
It's essentially insane. When I there was a couple other doctors just in South by Southwest, we're just going to do and here we are in August, and two of them came from one of these cars got knocked. Three of us still.
I think that's the reason I like this thing, because all I had to do was load it. I mean, it was almost nice to do hardware again. No, people working for themselves. You know, back in the 90s, I mean, you worked for somebody. Worked for Anthony and these guys. Well, like people trying to do their own thing.
Oh, actually, just to the left. There is a water tank.
How are you finish going stuff like close down all 130?
Yeah, let everybody get back.
Hopefully, all in your city people.
Oh, that's why I propped it up.
Yeah.
And then full screen.
If you hit a browser, you can go to history. It shows some of the interesting things that people are doing. If you want to, you don't have to. You got real work to do.
I think we've uncovered quite a bit. That's just my notes. It's all discussion. It's discussion for us. How do you make name tags? That's good. How do you know if it's going to be good at this point? There are some things in WordPress. I think there's one where we actually shift content based on
Resolution?
whether the user agent.
Yeah.
User agent. So I use that to include the structure. I'll pick the browser here. For mobile, we have fancy full screen background images. Don't even do those.
Right. That's what we did for the last year. We did the Austin Jazz Alliance, and you know, because it was such a short time period, you didn't really want it, but it renders nicely on phone and changes and adapts. And of course, we did it in Drupal. Good developer likes it.
Yeah, of course, one of the problems is scale down, decide, hey, I'm not display this particular div. Forgetting that, oh yeah, leave that one out, and my lower page collapses on it. And,
Well, you gotta really transform it conditionally. Yeah.
I had the first time I was doing that. I ended up pulling something out that was closing one of my major divs.
yeah.
I had to do else. You know, just load it.
I'm starting to get to the point that instead of trying to retro convert some older themes, that it might just be better to just scrape it started.
I know that here's me.
What are you gonna do without Jack? Usually the notes are done by the end of the meeting.
Well,
I will do my best to keep up with the typing. Very few, if any, guarantees on the accuracy or quality.
Just write me out, oh, this is so cool, you should do it.
Sucks if you missed it.
That's predictive technology. They're doing foreshadowing.
good call.
A couple more folks going.
Okay.
Through the line and more.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll be doing a lot of like back and forth.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep track of it.
Cool. The hope is that we get a lot of folks tossing out ideas from the crowd as discussion. So
Okay,
it's
I'll
not
be
just,
able to get it to you for the thing.
yeah, it's not just.
Cool.
So I want to hear about that.
Yeah, definitely.
Welcome everybody. Say big thanks to mention ATX videos on Cool.
No, I ended up finishing the food. Yeah, I don't know how they got my name.
Did they get mad that it was too complicated or something? I saw some tweets about it. Like, this is too complicated.
I think they were asking questions that we didn't.
Well, for basically people who are brand new to WordPress or.
And they're like, basically I talked to my
They're brand new to WordPress. And tell them what it is and buy those themes.
Well, yeah, pretty
Oh,
much. Or basically, the conversation got around your circle. If we're working into the time here's what you as an end user, you as the person who's asking for your site has to there's responsive design. This is what means.
It's on Eric's server and it's on his server.
You're gonna have to make decisions about it. And this is
Did you do that talk? Did you have some somewhere?
yeah.
Because I think that's,
Yeah, actually,
that's a big
Jackie did it online. So that
would it be on the actual Meetup site or? This is my new first time, so.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Everything else.
Yeah, we tried to buzzwords.
Yeah, the corporate site was in WordPress, and one WordPress installed, and the blog was in a folder, and I'm like, because I had to go, I changed the menu, well, then I had to go and edit the menu. I don't care. You just got
You're not done. Well, we'll hurry up because we're fixing to start here in a minute. We're good. Hi, everybody. Welcome to WordPress Meetup. This is the advanced section on responsive design. So hopefully you're all in the right spot. I'm Nick. This is Pat in the beanbag chair.
Sorry.
So now who's our first time people here? Okay, a few of them. Welcome. This is we're still trying to figure out our arrangements here on our new space. Thanks courtesy to WP Engine and Capital Factory, who've provided this beautiful space for us and given us a lot more room than we had before at CoSpace, so it's getting pretty crowded there. And just let you know, awesome technical videos. ATX is going to be videoing this, so if you miss anything today, then just tune in and you can watch the whole thing all over again. The class we're going to be doing today is on the mechanics of responsive design, and we're going to make this a really interactive class because one of the things that we're all discovering with responsive design is nobody has any good answers. We're all sort of stumbling around, trying to figure out what everybody else is doing. So I'd like to start out with, does anybody have any announcements to start with? Hiram?
Hi, my name is Hiram Kirkendall. I work with an organization called Mobility, and we are once again holding the AIR Rally here in Austin. For those of you who don't know what AIR is, it's a competition where you bring teams of web developers to create a website for a nonprofit. And I know that I see several faces in here who have participated before, Matt and Nick and all the other fun people. We're making 3 changes this year to AIR for those of you that have participated in the past. One, if you're currently working with a nonprofit, you can submit your nonprofit as the organization that you want to bring into AIR. And so we'll judge it for accessibility along with all the other sites. 2, we're adding more time. In the past, AIR was an 8-hour rally where you got together and we cranked out a site in 8 hours for our nonprofits. And that worked really well in the 90s. But in 2012, we all know we want CMSs. We want WordPress, and specifically we want things like adaptive design. And 8 hours is really not enough time to do that. So we're extending the rally. There'll still be a rally, but we're going to give you a lot more time to work on it. So it'll be like a month-long event as opposed to just one day hit it and go. The other thing is you can have up to 6 members now on your team in the competition, where before I think we shot for something like 4. We realize now that a lot of people bring on a graphic designer, and you have 2 developers, and you've got maybe a project manager, and you got people doing content entry, and so you just need more people to actually pull it off. What I'll do is I'll post information to the Meetup board, and I'll give it to Nick, who can post it on
WP Austin.
WPAustin.com. and hopefully we'll get some people that are interested. And if you don't have a team, let me know. We do build ad hoc teams, so if you're a developer and you do WordPress and you say, well, look, I don't have a graphic artist or I don't have another developer to work with, let me know, we'll find you a team. The other interesting thing that I brought tonight is how many people know what the Raspberry Pi is? Raspberry. Okay, so have you actually seen one? Oh, y'all are no fun. The Raspberry Pi, there's a group of guys that got together and said, hey, you know, in higher education, when we get these people into these development classes, you know, to teach them how to do programming, they don't know how to program. They don't do it as a hobby. They play console games and maybe they did a web page. And so I was talking to Pat and Nick about what we started on, all of us old farts. And I started on a Commodore VIC-20, and the 20 stands for the memory it had. It had 20K of memory. And I wrote some amazing programs in 20K of memory. And it was underpowered, and it was slow, and it was fun. And so what they said is we need to get hardware in the hands of these kids so they can do it. So what they came up with was the Raspberry Pi. This is a $35 Linux box. It has an HDMI port with sound. It has a 100 megabit Ethernet port, 2 USB ports. It actually has composite video, so you can hook it to your television set. Has another audio out, and it has these wonderful serial pins that you can program to, so you can programmatically make them, you know, do things. And instead of a hard drive, it actually has a place for your SIM card. So what they found was for $35, they put together this wonderful little box, and kids love it. And if you have a chance, go on to I'm going to pronounce it Raspberry, RASPBERRY, Pi.org, and you can take a look at all these things these kids are doing with it. It's really fantastic. The only tough decision is you have to decide whether you want to plug in your phone and charge it, or you have run your Raspberry Pi. You can't do both at the same time. But it's a lot of fun, and let me know if you want to see it. And
I'm telling you, I mean, next time I want to
Next
see that
time.
WordPress website.
So
I was gonna do that, and somebody said, "Hey, you need to load the XBMC, Media Center on it." And so I loaded the Media Center on it, and it overwrote my hard drive. So now it's a Media Center, and now it's not a Debugging Linux box. But I'll fix that later. Thank you.
So we're going to turn that into an Apache WordPress server, and we're going to do the next presentation.
Put varnish on it and Memcache, and I mean the whole 9 yards, right?
Yeah,
And we'll watch it
absolutely.
melt into a little pile of.
It'll display 1 page for 10 minutes. And
That's right. There you
But,
go. But we'll have a good time doing it.
So all right, well,
We got, actually, Debbie P. Engine, you guys raise your hands back in the back. A big thanks to Debbie P. Engine for getting us the pizza and food. Tomorrow night, if you don't know, tomorrow evening, they're having a open house party, kind of celebrating the move upstairs here to the 16th floor. If you are interested in coming, you have an RSVP, it's wpengine.com/party, is that right?
Right.
That's right. Yep. wpengine.com/party, and that'll kick you over to the Eventbrite page where you can register to come up here tomorrow and what, beverages, food, tours, whole 9 yards?
And a cake.
And a cake.
A cake.
Oh, and a cake. And a cake.
I saw on Twitter.
Like, oh, it's birthday cake. Yes.
so any other announcements before we get started? No? Okay, well, Pat has a great big laundry list of all the things that we have discussed in terms of responsive design, and we're going to kick into that and basically tap everybody here as to what's your favorite approach. So we don't have anything else, and Pat, take it away.
Thank you. So this is kind of a stream of consciousness talk. I'm not doing a slideshow or a presentation because I really want to hear from people here, pitfalls that you've encountered in working with responsive design, or making a design work that way, solutions you found, etc. What I kind of threw up were just some notes and some links, and we'll go through these kind of haphazardly, and it's all pretty much centered around working with a WordPress theme. So, with a WordPress theme and responsive design, you've got certain things that are going to come up. You'll see some tips on, how you can make a menu work responsively, loading images, just, responsive CSS, stuff like that. But with WordPress, you're going to run into things like, well, what do I do with my main nav? What about certain pieces of content that really aren't going to work well on a mobile device versus a desktop device, etc. So these are just things that I've gone through as I've done some themes that have been responsive. And so I thought I'd put these up here, and we'll use these as discussion points. So at any time, if you got a thought, comment, question, something like that, shout it out, and we'll just talk about it. That's about as structured as we're going to get. So I'll try to see if I can keep the screen up here where we can see this stuff.
By the way, if you can't see from where you're sitting, this is up on wpaustin.com. So
Oh yeah.
you can disconnect on your own computer and follow along with.
So back in January, we had a little developers get together. We called it a Word Up, and Jason Weaver from over in College Station showed off this FlexNav bit of code that he was playing with. That got really small. And he's since turned this into a JavaScript library that's up on GitHub. And what he was doing was taking a main nav here that's got subnav items in it, and trying to come up with a way to collapse it nicely so that your flyouts aren't coming up on top of things, behind things, creating problems, with touch devices. And so what his did is at a certain point it breaks into a single menu. You'll notice that your menu items get replaced by this one drop down that says menu. And then your items appear underneath this, and everything stacks down and pushes everything else out of the way. I was curious if anybody's implemented something like this with a main nav, with a WordPress menu, an actual WordPress menu object. Clark?
Not FlexNav specifically, but on that main automatic theme underscores, there's a little file called smallmenu.js that is somewhat similar that I've taken and used for lots of things.
You just told me that.
I got it from Clark.
Oh, you got it from Clark. No, yeah. So underscores. Let me see if I can.
You can see it sort of cobbled together on clarklab.com if you want to see the actual effect. Because I don't know if they offer that little smallmenu.js by itself. I always just steal it right out of their theme.
Well, so this is underscores just running. The only thing I did to this, underscores is this sort of empty shell framework you can build off of. I added some borders around the list items so you can see them a little more cleanly, and it wasn't just a bunch of words smashed together. Because I just tossed this on the local host this evening. But it does a similar thing. When you break down at a certain point, you have this menu that you click, and it opens up the main nav in a nice nested list structure, which is nice because you see the arrangement and the hierarchy of your pages, your parent-child relationships. And I don't think it would be much of a stretch to go in and do a little jQuery and some CSS to set the show hide as you hit things. Has anybody else got anything with your main navs?
A lot of people actually convert them to form elements, the drop-down form element.
Yeah, that's
I'm not the hugest fan of that one, but that's a pretty big trend that seems to occur. It's a really nice one when you're trying to save time, so I'll do it lots of times when it's like a site or a client site that I'm not the most interested in.
Bill actually was talking about that this evening before we started. He's done that. What he'll do is he's got a function that uses the walker to convert. He basically converts the main nav menu into a drop down, just like what you're talking about.
Well, actually,
that-
there's two different things I have that you can use in that code thing. This one is for creating a mobile menu. So there's a theme
Separate
location.
menu.
Yeah, it's a separate menu in the back end. So if you have a complicated primary menu with lots of levels, you might want a simpler mobile menu. And so you create a theme location called mobile, and then you use this Walker class to display that menu. So it'll do it as a drop down or as a select menu. And then the other one is a strictly JavaScript approach, which just goes through the main net menu, pulls all the links out, and throws it into a select menu.
Has anybody done that, swapping out menus, not actually using your main menu, but creating one specifically for mobile browsing?
Yeah.
Pete? Yeah?
Yeah, we got if you want to pull it up, it's greenmountain.com/active-e. Active-e is all one word. What I did is I actually have two menus in WordPress. And the second one I have
Active
active-e.
E? Okay.
So we did this site for B&W, and as we shrink it down, we get a media query that basically turns off certain elements and then turns on a bottom menu.
Oh, nice.
So there's two separate menus in WordPress. For the most part, the site doesn't really have navigation. It's only 3 or 4 people. But we have to be able to navigate around with the mobile site. So we basically just turn off anything flying with the desktop class. We turn on anything flying with the mobile class.
Very cool. Okay. Any other menu ideas, questions, solutions?
I did it in a similar way, but I didn't go in and do the programming. I found something called User Apps that has a free and premium version, and the free version allowed me to turn SavannahMedicalCenter.com from a theme that on an iPhone will expand and contract into a mobile only. It looks like an app, and it has a very simple, unique menu just for the mobile app.
Okay.
And I can turn it on for iPhones and or iPads.
Does that work with other devices like
Yeah, and
the tablets?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and it's, it also gives you a QR code and an app so that you can store like the app and go straight to the website.
Any others? Okay. So what I have next up here is new for WordPress 3.4. WP is mobile. This little function is pretty nice, and then there's also the is iPhone bit of code that WordPress has had for years, and Clark has used this quite a bit with his Android site.
I should say I no longer trust that one. Just today I pulled it out.
Okay.
It doesn't work with the newest Chrome beta,
Ah.
which isn't a lot of people, but because I'm an Android site, I've probably got a little bit more of those than everyone else.
Did you replace it with WP is mobile, or are you using something different?
I didn't do WP is mobile just because I thought it might be the same set of criteria, so I didn't look into it yet, but I placed my own that I just looked at the user agent string with kind of a really long string of user agents, but I'll probably check WP is mobile before too long.
So WP is mobile actually is a function that is new to 3.4. It's in 3.4, 3.4.1, and it looks for user agents and what's the other one? Basically, it'll catch any iOS device, and then it looks for various 5 or 6 other user agents. I don't know about Chrome beta or mobile Chrome or anything like that. I'm not sure.
I looked at the bars.
That's what it is.
Yes, it should look for a lot of things. The one I used today was just a list of user agents I found online, so I'm sure WordPress is just as good. simplest or better?
Just from cursory glance, I wouldn't actually want to use it. I want to know what the device's capabilities are versus just what the device is. And I'd probably be more inclined to use like Oracle or something else to determine if it's what I'm going to serve on.
So,
That's what it looks for right there. That's pretty much the whole WP is mobile function. So it's going to look for mobile in the user agent, and then Android, Silk, Kindle, BlackBerry, and Opera Mini. So whichever device is returned mobile, it's going to catch that. And then more device-specific things like Android, Silk, Kindle, BlackBerry, and Opera Mini. So yeah, so it's not doing a capabilities test like Modernizer would do, Modernizer JS. But yeah, it's purely user agent.
I think if we just threw a new filter in there, correct.
I'd like to see this filterable for 3.5 because I was thinking that same thing. If you could extend this, it would go. You could go nuts with it. And there's a plugin that I have on this list called Mobile that we'll look at, which might do that. It gives you a ton of conditionals that you can test with.
so Clark, why did you make the decision to go with listed user agents?
My markup I needed for the mobile site to desktop site was so drastically different that it would have been a lot of overhead to try to pull and push what I needed as the site resized. I also built it probably a year and a half ago, where responsive wasn't quite to where it is now. I'm in the process of redoing a lot of it responsive, but I'll probably still rely on user agents for some of it. I'm also, like he said, testing capabilities now, which is great, but it's a little different because it kind of brings you to the client side. So you do things sort of in a different manner, but it's still kind of a mix of all techniques for me.
Yeah, I think that's more and more true. You really can't just go one way or the other. I think you'll end up creating a bit more of a headache if you do. This one is nice. Using WP as mobile as a condition in your functions is nice because you know that you probably aren't going to do certain. You might know. Let me say, if your theme is designed with responsiveness into account, so you've got a different design for your handheld devices versus your desktop devices, there might be things you just aren't going to do in one or the other. So you could go with kind of a big blast approach and use WP as mobile to detect if it is or isn't it, and then do or don't do certain things or shift things around, stuff like that. And then get into your capabilities. Once you've done that, do your capabilities testing and use Modernizer JS or something like that and tweak the CSS based on capability. At least I found that to be more true than not. Mobile was the plugin that I mentioned here, and what I've done is loaded that as a must-use plugin so that the client's not going to inadvertently turn it off and cause problems.
What do you mean by must use?
I'll get right to that in just a sec. So what Mobile does is it gives us a lot more basically they're conditionals. You can use them as conditional tags. And you've got some big ones is handheld, is mobile, is tablet, is iOS, so you can kind of target some large buckets of devices, and then you can get pretty granular down there too and just hit all these various user agent OSs out there and target, get really nuts and target different things specifically. I've only used this to separate out tablets from phones because I want to serve up something slightly different for a large device like an iPad or a 7-inch tablet, and then target the smaller devices, the 320 by 480s size screens or something like that, slightly differently.
Is there anybody who's targeted specific devices? Any designs?
Do you mean by OS or by device?
By device. Because Model A, you know, so you can look at, you know, is Samsung or is Nokia or.
I think that's the question is anyone use mobile? Because that's how you do it.
Well, yeah, but.
Well,
I mean,
user agent
it's
sniffing,
nice to have
user
that
agent
capability.
sniffing's been
I'm
around for
curious
a
as to
while.
whether anybody's used it.
I mean, like user agent sniffing was done and real early with some, you know, with mobile browsing, you would just sniff the user agent. If it was, you know, one of these 50 items, you'd serve this, you know, serve this content. So, and then I think it kind of, the whole responsive CSS is kind of shifted sort of away from that, just make it reflow, but that presents problems too. If you're just reflowing things, you're still serving all that content, which may or may not be optimal for a mobile device.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You
it's-
create like a secret website that only Nintendo people can see. WordPress under their Nintendo.
Maybe if I was doing a contest or something.
That would be.
Or Android me detect you're on an iPhone and say, get an Android.
You haven't done that, have you, Clark?
No, we actually get a really big slice of iPhone traffic, so we welcome it.
Karen asked about must-use plugins. Has anybody not used must-use plugins or has used must-use plugins? Who knows what, actually, who's used them? Okay. Everybody else, no, never done it? Okay. Oops. I lost an H there. Basically, inside your WP content folder, you can create a directory called mu-plugins. And any plugin that you drop in there is loaded, period, no questions asked, provided that it doesn't have to go through any kind of activation. If the plugin's got to do some sort of activation and setup, it's not really going to work well in there. It's just how it's programmed.
Activate it, then put it in there.
Yeah. You can also.
You install it normally, you activate it, and
And
then
then-
you move to FTP from one folder to another.
Something else you can do. Whoops. Woo.
One key thing to remember though with new plugins is it doesn't work like the plugins directory where you can have things in folders. It only reads things that are in the top level. And so I think he's going to show you is you create a file called like load.php and then you just say require all your plugins. So you'll say look inside this folder and this is the file I want. So Mobile's got a directory called Mobile and it's got the plugins.php and it's got a readme. So I'm not going to go breaking directory structures of plugins. Yes?
How does that work with multi-user?
Multi-user, it's, I don't honestly know. It would say on the codex page for must-use plugins, I think addresses that. Clark?
It works just fine because MU plugins used to mean multi-user plugins. That's how this started.
Yeah,
If you install them and
Are
never
you?
mastered
Ah,
them.
there you go.
History.
Well, but is it just blanket site-wide, every single site gets them, period?
I'm sure there's a way to override it, but by default, if you put it MU in multi-site, it'll apply it to all of your sites at once without the ability to turn it off.
Okay.
Uh-uh.
So what Bill was talking about is, you know, because it only reads that top level, you drop a load.php file in there, call it something, bob.php, I don't care. I just followed this. So there's a file called load.php, and in it is require wpmu plugin dir dot myplugin / myplugin.php. So in the case of Mobile, it would be, I'd have a line that would have /mobile / plugin.php. And at that point, Mobile's activated. I mean, it's loaded, it's running, you can't turn it off. It's nice and clean. And this is actually nice because I can keep that one single file where I do my require once for any plugin that I need loaded. If I decide later I'm going to take it out, I can just comment a line out and the plugin's not running anymore. So it's just taking it out. So since I required, you know, I needed Mobile for this site that I did, I set it up as a must-use plugin. So the client can't turn it off, they can't deactivate it, it's running. And in my theme where I call the conditionals that Mobile uses, it keeps on running. I don't know if Mobile's the best solution out there, but it really worked for me because all it did was give me that delineation between tablets and handheld phones, which is what I needed.
Do you know specifically how it's doing? Is it the user agent capability? Or?
User agent.
Okay.
I'm fairly sure it's user agent.
Is there server-side testing based on capabilities, or is that not something that exists?
WURL.
Say that again, I don't know.
Try to Google it. Or there's a device library. There's some PHP plugins for it, but it's keeps it fairly up to date.
Is it PHP code on the server then?
Yeah, but I've seen it work in .NET. It's basically a huge XML file which lists out every user agent plus their capabilities. So it's got resolution, it's got touch screen, it's got camera, it's got all sorts of weird stuff.
That WURL, I was reading on HTML, I just looked it up, it said that it contains 20 megs of XML, which could be too significant for some projects.
Yeah, now it will, they've got some stuff that'll parse it. We use it at work, it'll parse it into a MySQL database, so it's got real fast lookups. It's got a bunch of cache libraries and stuff.
That's getting a little intense.
It works well. I mean, I can go in and just say, is my device 600 pixels or less that do this, or is it 700 pixels or less? As long as you update that database every couple months, it works pretty well. It takes maybe a minute or so to parse all the data in the database, but then after that, it's extremely fast.
I guess it's like using Less or SAS or whatever, like it's really nice, and just go to parse it and put it.
Very cool.
You have to keep on top of it, like, a new version of Firefox come out, all of a sudden it thought it was mobile.
That's like the old just sniffing straight user agents, I mean, yeah.
Sometimes.
Hey, Opera Mini came out. Oops, we got to update everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I was about to ask how often they update, but I guess the update as soon as the browsers change things on.
It's fairly often.
What I thought I'd do is, just show a real quick live example of WP is mobile. And the same thing can be done with one of the conditionals that Mobile gives. You could just say if whatever the conditional is, and then you wrap your function with that, or wrap your code with that. So what I did in 2011 is up at the very top of the header element, I said, okay, if WP is mobile, so we're testing for mobile, and then load all this here. Have our navigation, skip link, nav menu, drop that up there, and then have our site title, our header 1, our header 2 with the description, etc. So that works, assuming that I've got the theme active. I don't. Okay, so we're not mobile. I've got a little user agent switcher in Chrome, so I can just simulate it. Okay, so now that we are mobile, this is the iPhone 4 that we're looking at up here. We're loading our menu first, and I also got rid of the search form. So if it's mobile, the search form and the header is not going to load because we've got a search form right here. I don't need it twice. That's all it is. But you could use this, in your theme if you're doing things. Where I did it is I had a client that wanted large full screen background images. So every page you'd go, you'd have this massive background image, corner to corner, kind of like restaurant. I see a lot of restaurant sites that do that. That's a lot of stuff to be pushed into a little phone, especially if you're on a data plan or something like that. So that whole function is wrapped inside a mobile detection. If it's mobile, the function just doesn't fire. So that way we keep that nice and clean for our clients. The content is still there. We're just not pushing those big background images. Instead, there's just a simple mobile background image that's a lot leaner and cleaner and doesn't change and all that. Okay. Retina. Has anybody addressed Retina displays? Clark, you're the only one? Tell me what you did. Were you addressing Retina displays for background images only, for images in the content?
Usually just key images in the content, and lots of times instead of using a script, I would just cheat and call an image that was slightly bigger than I needed and scale it down in browser, because most of the mobile browsers now have really nice image scaling.
Yeah. So you call the larger image for only the mobile devices with Retina, or?
No, I just call the larger mobile image and then
Period.
size it to what I needed to.
Okay.
Usually, I mean, for icons and stuff, it's easy because it's exactly twice as big. For photos and such, it's kind of a weird thing because you can make it like a third as big and size it down, and it looks pretty sharp. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not exactly 2x, but it's close enough that it's good compromise for me. So.
Does WordPress have any support for inserting images that are Retina, or do you just insert a really large image and
I
then
just
edit the
insert,
HTML?
just insert an image that's slightly larger than I know I'll need it to be.
But then you have to say width and then height or something like that, right?
Yeah, usually I go with width and height auto, and it'll
Okay.
just pull it to the right ratio for me.
Okay. Anybody else done anything with Retina? Not yet? Nick?
I have a sort of related question. I've been playing around with dynamic scaling of images. So then, rather than having a collection of fixed size images and picking one to download, I've been trying to do dynamic scaling to deliver something 2x of what I need. But I've not had a lot of success with it. Has anybody got anything like that working or tried anything like that?
That would automatically double an image at the time it was needed.
Yeah.
Not specifically. Usually going up doesn't work that well.
Or even going down, just have something really large on the server and
I know a way you can do it. There's a patch for WordPress core called VT Resize, which allows you to do dynamic image resizing, sort of like TinThumb, but built into core. And I use that on a ton of sites where there's a ton of different image sizes, and I don't want to have to I don't want to have 10 image sizes, so every image uploaded gets made 10 times. And only gets one. So you basically you drop in the you call the thumbnail ID, and then you say the dimensions you want, and it'll first check the uploads directory to see if that size exists. If not, it'll create it at that time. So if you're trying to do it for device, you would use the functions we listed there, like maybe do WP as mobile, and then wrap that around your function that's calling the image. So then on a mobile device, it'll call that smaller image, and if that doesn't exist, it'll make it and then deliver it.
VT resize?
Yeah, go to billerickson.net/code. I have it on there.
I watched a video where a guy was doing a similar thing, and it was not specifically related to WordPress, but apparently somebody had forked it to a WordPress plugin, where he's just setting a cookie in JavaScript with the largest dimension of the screen, and then there was the predefined breakpoints for the images. You know, if you're going to do 320 and 960 or whatever your breakpoints are.
There was a JavaScript example for that. I can't remember where I saw that.
Yeah, this guy's using a combination of front end and back end solution to do it on the fly.
I haven't messed with Retina images that are served in the content. So when a client gets a site, they're adding content and they add an image. I haven't touched that side of it at all. Where I've worked with it is just addressing my background images, because I want those background images to look clean and sharp on Retina displays and not be a little fuzzy. Kyle Larson wrote an article on creating Retina images for your website. Get the H this time. And there are a lot of these out there. If you search for Retina background images or CSS Retina images, you'll see a lot of articles. And what I got out of this was just some examples of calling it in your CSS. So doing the media query for the WebKit, or for the min device pixel ratio of 2. And then when that occurs, wherever I've got the specific class or ID or element that's loading the background image, instead of my standard background image, I'm loading one that's twice as large. And he's using the naming structure where at the end of the file name before the suffix you put @2x. Just so when you're looking at your images in your directory, you see the ones without the @2x, the ones with the @2x, you know those are the larger images. And those larger images get loaded with the background size set to the width and height. And you can just use width and then height auto. So it'll take, basically you take an image that's twice as big and you're only loading it in the smaller space, so you get more data in that small space and it looks really clean and crisp on your iPhone 4S, your Google Nexus, the MacBook Retinas, the iPad 3s, the devices that all have the Retina screens. Samsung Galaxy, I think. Windows 8 is going to support Retina displays. That's shipping at the end of October. So I think for the holiday season, you can probably expect a lot of new devices going out there with Retina screens on them. I think the only thing that will hold them up is the ability for them to produce the displays fast enough and get them shipped to the factories to be assembled.
And aside from Retina, which I think is technically only 2 enough, there's a whole.
There's a 1.5 also.
Medium, and there's 1.67 and 1.7. So.
You're pretty much covered if you kind of hit the bottom and just say
Sort of,
min device width 1.5 or something like that, and that'll.
It should. I mean, if you want to really get specific, I mean, it's just the experience you're trying to craft. I mean, you could get more specific and more specific. It's
Oh
almost
my gosh, yeah.
progressive enhancement.
Yeah.
So the WebKit mid device, when on Google Nexus and all that, that supports that WebKit mid device configuration.
So you can use the -WebKit -min -device pixel ratio. That's going to hit all of your Safari devices running Safari. You can also just use min -device -pixel ratio. That's sort of your blanket overall one. It's not the vendor specific prefix.
Okay.
Wouldn't it be a good idea to also throw in a max width, or set it so it's not doing this on the phone, because you're loading an image, you're already loading images, now you're loading with 2 times the data on a slow connection. It might be a good idea to try and limit, if it's your choice, limit that to just desktop environments.
Possible, yeah, but on your Retina handhelds, you're going to get the fuzzy, crappy looking image. So yeah, it depends. You know, if you want to push the extra large data, push the extra large image to the iPhone 4S is a Retina display, and that's a 320 by 480 screen, but it's supporting a 640 by 960 some odd resolution. So
I guess it just depends. Do you think your users want the site to load faster or look marginally prettier?
Right. Well, and you can also do things like you can optimize all your images prior to them going in your theme directory, which you should be doing anyway. Run them through Smush It or use Image Optim and throw all your images in there. Get them, compressed down so the quality's retained, but the data size isn't as big. And then serve them up. So you got to find a happy medium there. And also, what does the client want? The client's saying, I want Retina, quality images, or my case, the first time I stumbled into this, they're like, why is this not big? The images were super small and they were fuzzy, and I was like, oh crap, you got a Retina display. So I stumbled back into it, having to do that. You can do that. You can target just particular devices. So you set your device pixel ratio and min screen width, max screen width. You could then load another one without that and have one that's just all Retina displays. Load this, and min screen ratio is 1200 or something. So you hit the larger screens with the larger images. You can get really granular with it. So make sure you bill appropriately. There was a really good. Did anybody get to WordCamp San Francisco? You went. Did you go to the designing for Retina?
Yes, I did.
How was that? Because that slide deck is amazing.
It was absolutely amazing, and in the 15 minutes that she had, because she didn't have long, 15 minutes for presentation, 5 questions and answer. She covered not only how to do it within code, but also how to configure WordPress using low res to mimic it without having such a load on your servers and on your code. And it was just couldn't say it.
That's one video I'm waiting to get out there, to see that one.
Grab it as soon as she can find it.
So the slides that Sarah Cannon gave this talk on designing for the modern web, and her slide deck is available off SlideShare. I grabbed it down as a PDF, and there were some things in here that maybe jumped out, especially as we were going to have this talk on designing and digging into some of the code for responsive stuff. That number right there is something that you should probably pay attention to. Your mobile devices are going to outnumber your desktops very shortly. Just because the curves are in place, the trends are going, and so your 7-inch tablets, your help me out with all the tablets that you guys are covering. Kindle Fire.
7.
What's the
iPad Mini.
What do you have? You have the Nexus 7, is that right? Yeah. So hold that up. Just hold it up. Hold it up. Hold up. I mean, we're browsing the web on things like this now, so they should be addressed. And so this talk was just looking at that in light of what we do normally. Your mobile web is looking like that versus non-mobile. It's going to end up like that. That little graphic right there. Look at all these devices that have the web. So, paying attention to it is definitely something that we should be doing now. One of the things that was mentioned in here was this plugin that does address the images that your clients are going to put in their content, WP Retina 2X. And what this plugin gives you is an extra bit in your media library where, provided your original image is large enough, it'll show you, have you made a Retina version of this image yet or not? And if you haven't, you can either upload a new file to become your Retina image or hit the button and it'll generate one, assuming the original is of large enough size.
Is it inserting the image and the posting as a shortcode so it can determine when to show which?
I think it's just doing it. I think at that point it's doing some detection. I haven't used this yet. I haven't played with it. I just started looking at it while I was on vacation, so I didn't feel like loading up a test environment, throw it in there and see what that does. But this got a shout out in Sarah Cannon's presentation, so I made sure that I grabbed a copy of the plugin and I'm going to start playing with it. Because that, I think, that'll make a difference. You'll be able to serve up the nice image quality. One of the other ones that's already doing it is Jetpack 1.6 with the new carousel gallery that they have. So you insert just a standard gallery of images into your poster page. If you're using the Jetpack carousel, when you click one of the thumbnails, it loads this beautiful full screen carousel that you can arrow through and mouse through and I think swipe through even on the handhelds, and it will serve up Retina quality images. And I'm pretty sure with Jetpack 1.6.1, all the images that come with Jetpack are being served up in Retina quality, and I think WordPress is 3.5. Every image that's served up in WordPress is going to be Retina quality. So they're paying attention to it up there. What else? Retina.js is a JavaScript library you can use for serving up Retina images. It's got a less mixin. For those who work with less for serving up your CSS, Retina.js includes less mixin that you can use to handle the serving up of your Retina background images. There was a really great article, any other question on images in Retina, anything like that? Yeah.
You say Gravatar started supporting Retina now,
I think so.
and if you go on their site, it shows a picture of Matt Baldwick's pre-Retina image versus his Retina, so you can see what kind of difference that makes. But you look through block, oh, there.
Yep, that's better.
It shows like a big picture, like pre and post.
Is it on their blog?
To see it or something, yeah. Yeah, it is. So if you look at it up close, you can really see a big difference.
Yeah, this display is not exactly Retina capable.
The Retina display.
You can see it.
Okay, so there's the jaggies there. There's no jaggies there. So. Any other questions on Retina? Thoughts, ideas? Okay. Bill reminded me of this great article that came out earlier in July, Responsive Design's Dirty Little Secret. And I bookmarked this and I read it and it was pretty neat. And Bill's already got some code that he took out of this. There's a problem when you're doing fluid CSS, fluid widths, and that's when you do something like set 100% width to an element, but you want some padding in there. Shit's gonna break. You're gonna have, your browsers are gonna say, okay, 100% width is this, and let's add 20 pixels to each side. So now it's 100% plus 40 pixels, and so your alignment's out of whack, things don't line up right, and you pull your hair out. So you add an extra div on the inside, and you set the padding to the inside div. That works. You got an extra div, but it works. It works pretty well.
Mostly.
Yeah, mostly.
Do you guys ever mess with box sizing?
That is what this article is about. No, that's exactly it. So Bill's little snippet of code that he's like, you know what, I just started throwing this in my style sheet. Anytime I need to do this, say div ID wrap. So ID wrap gets these rules applied to it. So you set the box sizing to border box, then it says, okay, 100% is here, that padding goes on the inside. And so it doesn't add the padding to it. That would eliminate a good chunk of the HTML that you might use because you're not using those inside little wrapper divs to handle padding and borders. Your CSS, the math might add up a little cleaner because now you're not having to calculate extra rules for
49 and 99, leaving a little extra for when things are
yeah, width equals 99%, and then that 1 pixel border doesn't disappear off one side, or stuff like that. Box sizing. And the funny thing is, this isn't new. This is an old bit of code. It's just people forgot about it. It's kind of like negative margins. People forgot negative margins were possible back in CSS1. They just never bothered doing it. All right, last thing I've got on my little mental throw-up list here is what I used as my starting point for my first responsive theme was on Chris Coyer's CSS Tricks website. He's got this page with media queries for standard devices. This was my starting point. So I said, okay, how the heck am I getting started? What are these stupid screen resolutions on all these devices? And I started looking some up. And I said, nah, screw it, I'm done. I'm not going to mess with this yet. Well, later I found that they're all out there, and I just didn't think to Google it at the time. But they've, Chris Coyer's already done it. A lot of other people have done it. This was the cleanest list that I found to start with, and I say start with because this doesn't address things like your 7-inch tablets. Most of your 7-inch tablets have screen dimensions within a certain range that are not on here. So you can add that in here. I don't happen to do desktops and laptops in here. My CSS just doesn't work that way. So I ripped this whole chunk out. Large screens, I ripped that whole chunk out. There's your iPhone 4 for WebKit and in-device pixel ratio 1.5. I'm pretty sure that's also going to affect a lot of other devices, not just iPhone 4. So that could be a start for a Retina, a block of code to address Retina and high-quality displays. So I just wanted to throw that one out there.
Well, I think it's useful to know the different breaking points for these things. I wouldn't recommend, if you're doing responsive design, to target, it's like, okay, do desktop, and then I'm only going to do iPad and then mobile.
Right.
Make it look good at any resolution.
Right.
So the way I do it is I make the site, and then I just make the browser smaller pixel by pixel until something looks wrong, and then go fix that, and then
Yeah.
keep going.
Yeah, Firefox is a really good browser to do that in with the Web Developer Toolbar. You can set one of the options under there, you can say display browser dimension in the title bar. So up the top of your browser screen, it'll display it and you start sizing it down. And when it does get all janky, what's my width? And sort of set that, use that as a good rule to start a breakpoint or something. Thoughts? Questions? Yeah.
I have two things actually. I found a really cool website called Media Queries, but it's .es, so it's queries.es. And
Media.
All they do is take screenshots at different sizes of different ones. So if you're looking for some examples of what people have done, and if you go into their about section, they actually give you a list of the breakpoints for their screenshots, which is probably a pretty good starting list as well. I haven't done any responsive design at all, but the reason I'm interested in it is I just spent 3 months at work building an iPad version and an iPhone version of our regular site, which is what my boss wants me to do, but not necessarily what I think is probably the best solution. But one of the things I didn't really think about until I was listening to someone's presentation about it is responsive design is not necessarily just about changing the size, but it's also about some things that maybe we can't even tackle right now, which is things like bandwidth and capabilities of the device, and that's the type of stuff, like targeting things that, because you may have a Retina display phone and you're on Wi-Fi, you may want that large image in the background, and you may not want it when you're on cellular or.
I don't think the bandwidth is served. There's any sort of bit that gets served with the headers that says, I'm on this. This is my max speed or something like that.
There are still some shortcomings to HTML as far as some of those things goes.
Yeah.
Another useful tool that just reminded me of, go to StudioPress and their resources. They have the thing where you drop in a URL and then it shows it to you at every different resolution.
Yes, studiopress.com/responsive.
The neat thing is it'll even work on local sites.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so if you just test your own site, you just put any URL in there.
And then you scroll over to the other side, you can see it bigger.
That's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah, that's what and you can, there's a, StudioPress uses this for all their demos. There's like some get variable you can use for the URL. And so that's what I use when I'm showing a client that their site looks good in different devices. I send them the link to what their site looks like rather than just the landing page.
Yeah, you just put a question mark after the
like
responsive slash and then the URL.
Up there?
Yep.
Cool.
So I was curious, what other testing tools are people using to validate your designs, or debug them, as the case may be?
Chrome has settings where you can change the user agent, and it also has the default device size as well. You can change. I also stumbled across some JavaScript bookmarklets that you can edit and put in your book, because one of the problems with Chrome is you can't make it small enough to be an iPhone size.
Right.
So you can just click the bookmarklet and it pops the page out in a smaller, like Chromeless window.
Chromeless window, okay. Yeah, some versions of Firefox have the same problem. You just can't scale the window small enough to get that. Has anybody played with Firefox 17 yet? The night builds. So kind of interesting stuff. If you just go to Firefox Nightly, and you can download the builds. Still in development, but really nice tools for analyzing responsive design. I'll show you your box models for each of your elements and let you adjust things right there on screen.
This probably doesn't apply to too many people, but if you're running an Android device that has the new Chrome beta, they've got remote debugging worked out, where you can have Web Inspector running in full on your phone, the inspector's on your computer, and it's headed via USB. And it's full on Web Inspector with the hovering box model and all that. You can change CSS and have it show up on your device. And it's amazingly handy.
Just docking Web Inspector to the right was crazy for me, and I never realized that was there. But you hit your little settings guy in Chrome's Inspector and hit dock to the right, and now I can shrink my screens down. And still, here's all my styles and my DOM, or you can always throw it out into its own window as well, and then mess with things or change the user agent. And still be able to come in here and work through it. Anything else?
I'm curious if anyone deals with placing ads responsibly.
Ooh.
It's for the client to figure out.
Not in the scope.
I figured AdSense probably has a very specific doc somewhere explaining it. I'm just not sure how to shift from desktop AdSense to mobile AdSense and back and forth without incurring wrath for.
That's not in their code, in this little script code.
Not that I know of, not that I've seen. They give you two very separate embeds.
Oh.
One thing I've
You
done.
could do a modernizer test on that. Test
I want it to be responsive, and modernizer could. The only thing it can be is if someone just zips their browser up and down, like if they go small, it needs to be mobile.
Yeah.
Go big, it should be normal.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if I have the freedom to just flip flop them back and forth like that.
Oh yeah.
The one thing I've done, I wouldn't do much in a mobile thing, but when I'm making a response time, one client wanted the sidebar to always be 300 pixels, so they can have that in there. And so I made it only the content area that resized. The sidebar always stayed that same width until it got to a certain place where they stacked on top of each other. But that way, the sidebar never got below 300, and the ad didn't have to scale down.
Well, if we got a minute, I'd like to toss another question out there, which is, I think one of the more important ones, which is, how do you bill for making themes responsive?
Just add to the testing time.
And the development time.
Depends on the complexity of the site. Yeah, it's how long you think it's going to take.
Yeah.
And then triple it.
That's your testing time. Yeah, I mean,
So far for me, the responsive element has always taken a whole lot longer than the initial estimates.
well, is it responsive? Are you just reflowing, or are you changing content? I mean, that's going to be a factor,
Yeah.
If they just say, well, just make it reflow, well, that's just CSS.
Yeah, just describe in your contract what you're doing. Like
Yeah.
I have basic level of responsiveness included, which is everything is going to be percentage based, and at certain breaking points, things are going to stack on top of each other, and things might hide, like rotators.
Yeah.
And then the menu will change in a moment. But that takes 30 minutes to implement at most, because everything's already done in percentages. All I have to do is throw in a few media queries to clean things up. But if they want a completely different design for the mobile layer and then like the iPad, then you're gonna have to bill a lot more for that. So just make sure you specify what you mean by responsive. Don't just use the keyword and then you both have different ideas of what it is.
Yeah.
Trouble will ensue.
Anybody else? Quiet group tonight.
Clark, you got anything?
Has anyone dealt with overwriting a responsive site, like if your user wants the desktop version?
Yes.
How do you undo?
I actually built 2 themes, and I used the
I know a way. Create a little button that like reloads a page or something with a session variable, and then check that session variable when you're doing the body class filter, and add a class of like desktop or something. And then in your CSS, just say, instead of like max width equals 960, say body.desktop width equals 960.
I can't remember the plugin. I found there was a plugin I found that just did some basic user agent testing, and I ripped that out and threw it into my core functionality plugin. And then in each theme that I built, down in the footer, there's a link, because what the mobile theme switcher gives you is you could throw a query, a question mark at the end of your thing, mobile equals true or whatever. And so I built that link into both themes. It only shows up in the desktop theme that's wrapped with WP as mobile, so it's only going to show up if you're on a mobile device. So it detects the mobile agent, loads the mobile theme, and then in the footer of the mobile theme, you tap the thing and you load the full site with the little switcher down there in the footer, so you can switch back to the other one. WP Touch I didn't want to touch it. That would not have worked nearly as easily and cleanly and as painlessly as just doing a little sniffing and then writing a separate theme.
Because the way I do it now on my site, just by user agent, it's really easy to override and let them have either or, but I'm not sure how to do it responsive, and when you look around online, there's no one talking about it. It weirds me out. Because like on my Android and me site, the 4th most clicked link on the mobile site is to convert to desktop.
Yeah.
And we have a great mobile site.
Yeah.
The 4th most popular link is to convert up to the desktop. So I know that people like to grab the full desktop version, and it seems like not a lot of people want to talk about that trend.
I guess not many people know that trend, because not many people are putting that link on their site.
I've just recently kind of discovered it, and I'm like, because I realized when I make my site responsive, I told her, I was like, it's kind of like being cocky almost, that I'm going to craft such perfect mobile site that no one's ever going to want for the desktop site, and I know that's not possible. I know people are still going to want for the desktop site, so I've got to figure out some way to let them swap back and forth.
Well, what am I not being shown?
Yes.
Yeah, you gotta make sure that your switch to desktop works. I was browsing somebody's website on a tablet, and it forced me to mobile. It's like, wow, mobile. I got a 10-inch tablet.
Yeah.
I go full site and it switched me right back to mobile.
Yeah. I've had that happen too.
Whatever I was looking for was very expensive from some other site, which was fine.
See, that's why I like responsive. Just reflow the stinking thing, and let me see the content.
Yeah,
Don't break my URL.
But that's even when you reflow it, it needs to be perfectly expected where the user thinks it's going to be, or they're going to get confused.
Yeah.
Where's that one I'm used to?
Well, I mean, if
It's
I'm
a
going
really
to, yeah, if
tricky
I,
thing. I don't know. We look at it such an easy logic. Oh yeah, let's just put the sidebar below and make the nav that collapses. And that usually works in a lot of cases, but I just don't know. It's not that same paradigm where someone can request another version like they're going to want to do. Maybe eventually people will stop wanting to do that.
Well, there's actually one of the other WordCamp videos. There's a discussion of that, and actually the presenter was saying that his wife had found this great site, and it's like, oh, I got this great article. We're gonna get in the car, but here, let me read it for you. It's right. I can't find it. So the frustration was she knew exactly where it was on the desktop version, couldn't find it on the phone version. So the issue of if you're using your desktop or if you're using a tablet or a larger device to do your research, because the phone is not particularly good for large browsing, then how do you find that same place once you click over to a mobile device? So I think it's going to be a discussion for a long time. I think it's a lot of people are going to be back and forth on a variety of devices. And
I think the key with responsive design is it's just one site. I mean, I think that's the goal. And I think where it breaks is where, you know, people change it up so much that, yeah, you do think, like Karen said, you think you're missing something. You know, what are you not showing me? You know, I mean, I hate it when I do a search, you know, when I'll search for something on here in Google that I remember seeing it, I'll search for it. Oh, okay, there's my title right there. I click it and then it takes me to some mobile app or some crap like that, and I don't see the title of what I was looking for. I don't see the content of what I was looking for. Yeah, I'm like, well, no, I wanted this. And they've taken me down a whole separate rabbit hole. Now I gotta search for it, or maybe I'll find it. No, I don't want to download the app. You know, just show me the content.
Now, Clark, in your circumstance, I would think that there would be a great opportunity for people, once they're signed in, to be able to add something to a favorites.
We had it a long time ago, and we actually dropped it after a while because no one was using it.
Really?
Not no one, but not a lot of people were using it, and since we've added new features that they seem to like more.
Okay.
Yeah.
We thought that was going to be a big deal, not just specific articles. We gave them the ability to add tags and categories and authors and a bunch of things to their favorites, where it they could curate their own little list and have a custom stream. And we pushed it for a few months, and almost no one used it. But that was like 2 years ago, before we had our really strong user base. So maybe it's time to try it.
See, because I would think that if you were on one device and just click something as a favorite, and when you pop it up on a new device, have it say, oh, last time you were on your PC, you were looking at this article, would you like to see it on your phone? Might be a way to go for some people. Anybody else?
Well, we got about another 30, 40 minutes, so this is the time in which we hang out, talk, discuss, ask questions, grab somebody who had an idea that you were thinking of earlier, and just talk amongst yourselves. Thank you.
Cool.
Lights bright.
That's great.